Hello everybody, and this is Chaos with Chaos Esports Productions, bringing you another viewer cast. Today we're going to be looking at some replays submitted by Cris. I did a couple of viewer casts for him about 2 months ago, so we're going to take a look and see how things are going. He sent these replays with the question, why did I win? So we're going to be taking a look and seeing what he does right, what he does wrong, and how he can better improve himself. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get right into this. Now PvP, I tend to favor the 5-Stalker Rush, which is a pretty interesting build. I've saw Noni's stream, he does it quite, I wouldn't say too terribly often nowadays. It was more of about 3 months ago when that was kind of his go-to strat for PvP. But I find that it's quite effective in throwing your opponent off guard, just enough that you can get your natural up. Sometimes you can win outright, but a lot of times you throw up your natural and you're just way ahead afterwards. So, I'm going to take a look, see what Cris is doing, how things are going. So far, not too many issues with the build, pretty much doing all the normal stuff. Your scout's doing his thing with the awesome patrol command, which is sweet. Good. Now, at this point, you're probably, let's see, if we take a look at your cam, what are you looking at? You're looking to expand, not really paying attention to your probe over in his base. Okay, so you're not really looking at what is, going on over in your opponent's base. So one thing I would recommend is always check tabs, see what's going on over here before your probe dies, just to get an idea of what your opponent's thinking. If he's pumping out units, there's a good chance you're going to be up against something that's very rushy. And as you can see, you've already scouted the 4 gates, so that looks like we're going to be dealing with. Now, your response so far has been to throw down a couple more gates and a robo. I think this works. You're just going to want to be very, very careful, because starting to pump out units as quickly as possible is going to be very, very vital into your being able to hold any major aggression, which, as we can see, flowing across the map, your opponent is doing. So, your mothership core was out at the appropriate time, so it's now your Nexus is done, which means you can immediately throw in a photon overcharge. Now, one thing I do want to make comment of, you did try to warp in down here. Whenever your opponents, like the majority of their forces, are down here and you're not engaging, by warping in units down here, you're only just going to throw away those minerals and gas, just because it's going to immediately die before it's actually able to do anything. So warping back kind of in your main is probably more of a better option for you. So, mothership core is going to die, and unfortunately I think you're going to lose your Nexus. That is very bold, sir. Getting an observer first after... I guess you probably started it before the aggression happened. But now I would be focusing on 2 things. Sentries and Immortals, because that is what is going to give you the edge in holding this attack. You warped in a couple more Sentries, which is good. So now you can hold this ramp indefinitely. You got to make sure you time all these force fields just right, so you don't waste any energy. So, you're still building probes, which I guess is okay, since you're probably going to be expanding right after this, and then now starting to get immortal production. So, definitely in a good position, and then your observer is happily following your opponent back to his base, so you feel safe to expand. So I'd say so far you've dealt with it pretty well. Obviously the engagement down here could have gone a lot better had you had units, but such is life sometimes. So now you do this very, very bold move, and you're just like, you know what? I might be behind, but I'm going to throw down my forges. And I'd say, while this is not opportune, this could potentially give you an advantage, assuming your opponent doesn't do anything. And since you've obviously recognized that he's just sitting at home, not really doing anything, yeah, I'd say you're pretty safe doing so. So, not keeping consistent with probe production a little bit. So, guess okay. Now we're back up to par. More gateways going down, so things are looking pretty good. You're going to probably want to start thinking about putting down your Twilight Council to get +2 going here shortly. You're still behind in supplies, but obviously that was mainly as a function of that first engagement where you lost probably a handful of probes and, let's see, handful of probes, your mothership core, and probably a unit or two. So I think overall I wouldn't say you're in a bad position, you don't know what your opponent's doing, your vision is very limited. Now I'm very surprised you didn't come down here and like start to pick off some of these pylons and kind of move out a little bit, because obviously you want to be worried about DTs and stupid stuff like that. +2's on the way, good. And it looks like your probe production has been a lot better. I can't quite recall where you were at with your probe production when I previously casted you, but I must say I am thoroughly enjoying the consistency. So now finally going to start taking down the pylons. Good for you. And one thing I would recommend is always, every once in a while, just maybe like every 30 seconds or so, if you're not using your Sentry energy, go ahead and throw out a Hallucinated Phoenix just to get an idea of what your opponent's doing. Hey, Dark Shrine, go figure. So let's see, upgrades wise, you're definitely ahead. He's just now starting +2 attack, and his +1 armor is just now finishing up. So you're definitely looking good. As far as composition, I think you're a little stalker heavy. I would have liked to have seen either a let's see, Twilight Council anywhere? Twilight Council's there. No Templar Archives. I tend to favor the Immortal Archon composition in PvP. It just is a lot better than a Stalker Colossus, which is kind of most people's go-to build. Day 9 actually did an example of those two compositions fighting each other, and the Immortal Archon just overrun the the Colossus Stalker composition. It was quite epic. But yeah, so at this point you're kind of, you're playing very, very passive. You're not really moving out doing anything. So let's see how this engagement goes, because this engagement is pretty much going to be the deciding factor of who wins this. Okay, so far I'd say you're not, obviously you're clumped up in a ball here, and he's got a lot of area that he can cover. So let's see what we got. That back off of his is actually going to be his downfall, I think. And now, let's see, your observer's not able to take this out, but with your upgrade advantage, I think you're pretty much going to take this out. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so this battle basically boiled down to you've got way superior. I mean, he's on, you're both on 2-2 now, but at the beginning of it, you were, I guess you were pretty much even the entire way. So I guess he just had way too many stalkers, I think, and the zealots more or less got, you kind of traded zealots 1 for 1, I would say. Let's just back up a little bit and take a look at that engagement a little more in detail, just to get a better feel. Okay, I didn't back up enough. Let's see, right about there. Yeah. Okay, so he comes in. Let's take a look. Okay, no, he's only got +1 armor, so he actually engaged that a little too early. So you do have the upgrade advantage. Your zealots are doing a really, really good job of taking out his zealots, and then now that he's only left with stalkers and a handful of archons, he's not able to fully engage. You've got a little bit better of a concave, and as a function of that, you're able to do a lot of higher DPS and take out these units a lot quicker. Couple of mortals sitting back here, which is not so good. But I think overall, since you were able to take out the majority of his archons and all he's left with is stalkers, your composition is just going to be way superior at this point. Plus your 3/3 upgrades are almost done, so I wonder why he wasn't utilizing that second forge as much. Probably just an error on his part. But yeah, you've got Blink on the way, Colossus are coming in. Yeah, I think at this point you're pretty much just going to build up your army again and then walk all over them. So he started to add in DTs, which... yeah, you brought your Observer over, so you were able to take it out pretty quickly. Quite honestly, you probably could just go over and walk all over him and not have to deal anything. Structures-wise, his biggest problem is, I think, the number of gateways he has, which, unfortunately, I can't see with that. Okay, he's only got 8 gateways, so he's trying to pump out a whole bunch of units and just now getting the extra gateways. So basically, this could... okay. Let's speed this up a little bit to get kind of into the meaty. Okay, so engagement looks like it's going to be happening. Yeah, so Storm in PvP doesn't really do much, and he just like walked into your army, which gave you the optimal amount of surface area to deal with the rest of his entire army. So yeah, I'd say the biggest thing that this game the biggest reason this game was in your favor is mainly because your upgrade advantage that you took kind of in that, stock moment where it was just like, okay, I can either sit back and stay behind or try and get ahead in something, which actually turned out to be way in your favor. And then also, just your composition overall is a little bit more favorable. He only had Archons in his comp, Archons and Stalkers in his comp, with a handful of Zealots, which overall I don't think is a very cohesive composition, and as a function of that, you just walked all over it. So I think overall your playstyle was very, very good. You reacted very well to what he threw at you. One thing I would highly recommend is, in your early game, looking at the number of units that you have and going into kind of like a custom game with an AI and just try to optimize that build such that you have maybe 3 or 4 units out by the time a 4-gate would hit. That way you can warp in around and get an Immortal out as quickly as possible and kind of be on toe-to-toe unit-wise. Because, I mean, he was significantly skewed as far as the unit count. He had like 8 or 9 Stalkers and 6 or 7 Zealots out already, and you only had like your Mothership Core and a single Sentry. So it was very, very clear that he could have just taken that game had he stayed, gotten the extra vision, and gotten into your base. But since he took off the pressure and let you kind of get back into the game, you were able to get a very, very distinct victory over him with your upgrade advantage. So I think that's really all I have to say about this game. Let me know your comments, what your thoughts are as far as the analysis go. Always looking to improve my casting and critiquing. Also, if you're new to this channel, welcome. I hope you enjoyed the cast. Feel free to send me your replays to the email address in the comment section, or I guess it's in the description below. More than happy to take a look at your replays and give you some pointers here and there. I think that is all I have. Feel free to like, subscribe, do all the wonderful things, and I will see you all in the next game.